Hey everyone, welcome back to Immediate Movie Reactions. I'm here after watching Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein on Netflix. This movie has been talked about for a very, very long time, very much hyped. And the question is, did it live up to the hype? I'm going to say for me, probably not. I was really, really excited for this movie. I really wanted it to be good. Obviously, I love Guillermo del Toro. Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water are some of my favorite films of all time. I don't think that this movie quite held up for the full 2.5 hour length that it is. What we have is we have the classic story of Frankenstein. And what I like about it is that it's sort of like Spider-Man, right? We all mostly know the story, so it doesn't rehash everything. However, it kind of starts in the last lap, right? It starts with the monster chasing down Frankenstein. Sorry, spoiler alert. And then it goes back to this is what happened to get us here, as Oscar Isaac, who plays Victor Frankenstein, not Victor von Frankenstein, but Victor Frankenstein, tells the story of his life. And then once he's done with his part of it, obviously he becomes the creature, the monster's turn. The monster is never really named in this. I did think at the end he was going to potentially take on Victor's name, but we didn't get there. But what we do have is, I think, a very intriguing story of Frankenstein, and the reason for him doing what he does, which is trying to bring, people back from the dead, is basically because his mother died in childbirth, which is kind of glossed over. Like, I think that's kind of a weak aspect to go from, I'm just studying to be a doctor to all of a sudden I'm going to do this. At, like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old when he makes this decision. And then we sort of time jump, and here's where I do kind of like it, is like, he's already figured out how to reanimate some things. He's already figured out kind of what he's doing. He just can't get that last spark. No pun intended. I didn't mean that. But he's trying to find that last bit. And he kind of just does. Like, there's this mysterious benefactor who comes in, who obviously has his ulterior motives, and we know what they're going to be, even though they don't spell it out until later. And so he's trying to figure out how to bring a creature back to life. How that's going to translate to what the benefactor wants, that doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of things in this film that just don't quite really add up or quite make sense, how we get from A to B to C. And I think that's what it's trying to explain, but it doesn't do it very well. Oscar Isaac is amazing. I think he's great in this. Mia Goth, I'm sorry, like, I loved her in Pearl. I saw Pearl and I thought she's a revelation, thought she's amazing. Pretty much everything that I've seen her in since, I've seen 2, 3, 4 films, I don't love her. She doesn't seem to really fit within this world. She's always just a little bit campy and a little bit cheesy, and maybe that's kind of the problem that I really had with this film, is that, there are parts that are gory. There are parts that are kind of, very Guillermo del Toro, almost, that same sensibility of like a Tim Burton, like, what his stuff is going to look like. But this looked like a Netflix movie, which is a weird thing to say, but we know what Netflix movies look like at this point. And that's kind of what it had, that same feel. It didn't necessarily feel premium. It didn't necessarily feel great or beautiful. There's some, good scenes. Nothing was really great. Even when it was graphic and gory, it was kind of like they gave them 75% of the budget that they needed or something like that. I don't know quite what was going on. I don't know quite what was missing. I said, I think Mia Goth was kind of weak. I think that maybe some of the gore and violence was okay. The monster story, when we get to the point of the story where the monster is telling his story, I just found it boring. I didn't enjoy it. I thought that was the weakest, unfortunately, the weakest part of the film. That should have been, I think, maybe the most compelling. But it was just kind of, by the time we got there, was this rush to the end. And maybe we could have explored Mia Goth's character, Elizabeth, I believe her name was. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting now. I think her name was Elizabeth. As she's kind of falling in love with the creature, and what does that mean, and what would that look like? I don't know. I just felt like there was so much of this film that was maybe missing, where they put effort into the wrong places or spent time in the wrong things. I don't know. Overall, I think it was fine. It was good. We definitely enjoyed watching it. I don't feel regret for having spent 2.5 hours. However, I don't think it's something that, I missed it in theaters. I really, really, really wanted to see it in the theaters. It just wasn't anywhere near me where I could have gone. And I was really kind of angry about that. But now, having watched, even though I think it would have been great on a big screen, I don't think it was necessary. I think it's fine. It's an okay film. It's definitely a film that is perfect for Netflix, and perfect for a Friday or a Saturday night or whatever it is. So I'm going to give it a 7, which is, sometimes I go in thinking I'm going to give this movie a 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it might be. And I get surprised. But this is something that I kind of wanted to give it a little bit higher. But I do think, just visuals and everything, Oscar Isaac, give it a 7. Otherwise, it's kind of bland and boring and not as good as I wanted. So there we are. Please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you all, and I will see you after the next movie.